It's Blake's Buzz Live. Buzz, 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 buzz. It's Blake's Buzz Live. Buzz, 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 buzz. It's Blake's Buzz Live. More, hate less, read comics. It's Blake's Buzz Live.
Buzz, buzz, babies.
Buzz, buzz, babies. We're live. It's Wednesday night. It's episode 9. I've got some really talented creators in the house, and we're all going to talk comics. We're going to talk Kickstarters. We're going to talk about life. Mario's got COVID. He's going to tell us how that goes. This is a really weird special we're having tonight. It's going to be interesting. I'm going to go around the block and introduce everyone real quick, and then we'll just start talking. I got Sean Dicker in the house. Sean, how you doing, bud?
I'm doing great tonight. Thanks for having me on again, but Blake.
Yeah,
I almost called you Buzz there for a second.
Hey, that works. That works, baby. Sean has been foolish enough to come back. I am always shocked when people come back on my show because I can look at the metrics. I know people watch it and that makes me feel good. But like when a creative comes back, I feel like I've done something moderately correct in my clusterfuck existence. That's what I'm gonna tell myself, and I'm gonna die on that hill. So thanks for coming back on. I'm excited to have you. You're good people. You're a good chat, and you're a damn good artist. And we're gonna talk about your works tonight, and I'm excited to do that. First time on the show, Mr. Doug Wood. Not quite from Kansas City, but a local Missouri boy hanging out. Doug's done some really cool comics, and he does anthology work, which I hear is just like the easiest thing you can do on Kickstarter. There's nothing stressful about it at all. He's also got a sweet Source Point press deal going on right now with Ultramax, which I think we're going to talk about tonight. The first issue's been out, and the second will be coming out in June, which is super exciting. Source Point is Blake's Buzz is a reviewer of Source Point. They are good people, and Doug is good people. How you doing tonight, Doug?
Thank you so much for having me on. I'm doing really good. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm excited. I'm stoked. I heard that there might be a very large hype-worthy project you may talk about tonight that hasn't that we're all kind of anxiously awaiting, and I'm so stoked to talk about that later. Next up, we've got Mario Candelaria. I feel like I already messed that up, but you told me it was okay if I screwed up your last name, so that's cool. How you doing other than having COVID? Everything else good?
Yeah, everything else is pretty good. I mean, I'm forced to take a week off from work, so that's fun. But yeah.
I would love to be forced to take a week off work. God, like that's the dream.
My boss got mad at me for answering emails and jumping on Teams and answering questions, but I just know that shit's gonna have to be there waiting for me when I get back. So
Yeah. Well, I do the remote work. We've been remote at my company for a couple of years now. I never want to go back. Ever. Like it's like, I think we've been working from home for 2 years. It works. The business is running, nothing caught on fire. Like, you have the cool thing about working from home that not a lot of people talk about is, so like I have dogs, right? And I got a new puppy. And when work gets a little stressful or my 15-minute break, you know what I do? I go inside, I hug my dogs, and I'm like, this sucks, guys, but it's nice to see you for 15 minutes. And then I go back. You can't do that when you're in the office,
No.
So it's nice. And I get to, like, every morning I get up early and I work on Blake's Buzz stuff, and I cook breakfast and have like a nice little breakfast. And I have this like pre-work ritual, and I don't have to worry about like getting ready necessarily and leaving, 20-ish minutes early to get to work and not worry or to stop by a gas station or something and get, some shitty, breakfast corn dog, even though it's delicious, but whatever. But it's just like it's like this new way of life, and it's nice, and like, don't take it away from me.
Yeah, you get a quality of life for sure.
You're local to me. I'm gonna come and steal your energy, I think.
And then we got we got Michael Bracco in the house. Bracco, hey. Braccio. Nope.
Bracco.
I'm under the bus.
That's
I'm under
okay.
the bus. All right, it's fine. So we got the creator of the creators,
right,
is in the house tonight. Man, it's cool. You got a cool comic that you've been working on for like 7 years now, right? Or more?
10 years actually. Yeah.
Wow, a
Yeah,
decade of blood, sweat, and tears. In
yeah,
your
quite
final
literally.
volume. It's the final volume on Kickstarter.
It is,
right
yeah.
now.
I'm finishing up a series. Yeah.
How's that feel, man? Like,
so it's this is the second time I've done like a very like long extended series, both of which took about a decade. And in both cases, it's this feeling of like, oh my God, this emotional completion. You're bringing these characters full circle, this story, all these things that are like swimming in your head for a long time. You're finally bringing it to completion. And then there's this like, what the hell am I going to do next? And I don't know, because there's still so much work to do with the Kickstarter and getting the book printed and shipped and all that kind of stuff. And I am so excited to do something. I just have no clue what it is right now. So there's this like sense of accomplishment and like fear of the unknown and the open future.
I believe, I'm not sure if Dave, I'm thinking Dave is Mr. Crispino's one of the Sturdy Boys from an epic podcast that we did with Tony Gregori. Dave was talking you up. Man.
Really? He's my neighbor.
Yeah. Oh no shit. Like real life neighbor?
Yeah. I go jogging by his house every morning.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Wow. Small world.
Right.
That's crazy. Well, that's cool. Well, that's so yeah, he told me when I posted the promo today, he was like, oh, he's the best dude. And I was like, sweet, because I was really hoping no one I have on my show is like really awkward and hard to talk to. I've been doing this since July, and I haven't ran into that mess yet. I've been very lucky with all the guests that I've had, and everybody. Another David in the house. We got Dave's out the wazoo. Nice to see everybody. Ignacio's a fan of the show and also an artist. You might see him in every fucking anthology and comic book out in God's green earth. He's everything right now. Ignacio, thanks for coming by. And last but not least, we got Anthony Stokes. What is up, dude?
Sorry, I had a lot of technical difficulties.
It's cool, man. We got 5 guests tonight. We're gonna be here a while. It's no.
Okay, cool. I'm doing good, man.
Good to have you. You got second issue of Decay is live on Kickstarter. We'll be talking about that tonight. Holy shit, we got a third David. We got 3 Davids, and only one of them writes fucking Nottingham and works for Mad Cave. This is crazy. It still shocks me, like when like people that are really good at their jobs come into my chat and watch my show. It fucking freaks me out. If you guys aren't reading Nottingham, go fuck yourself, because it's one of the best comic books on the shelf right now. And that's my review of Nottingham #7 that's not out yet. Everybody, thank you for tuning in to Blake's Buzz Live, episode 9. I've got a wonderful cast of creators here tonight that are here to help me hang out for a couple hours and cure your Wednesday night boredom, because I'm sure none of you went to the comic shop today. I'm just kidding. I hope a lot of you did. Support your local comic book shops. But thank you for taking a break out of clearing out your massive to read piles. If you're like me, I just love buying books that I never read. But I got to keep buying them, and we all got to keep buying them, because we're all going to be out of fucking jobs if we don't, right? It's kind of the name of the game. All right, so who wants to go first? You guys want to like wrestle or arm wrestle, or I don't. Let's start with Mario, just in case, because I know you're slightly under the weather. Just in case you need to back out early tonight, which I'll totally understand and send you scathing email. No, I'm kidding. But we've actually got 2. Both Mario and Sean are part of a new anthology. Anthologies are just crazy sexy hot right now on Kickstarter. They just, more and more of them keep coming out, and everybody loves them, and it's exciting. And this one is very different. Purple Eyes. Now, I don't know if anyone's heard of this yet, but I mean, basically it's a collection of short stories that range from like heartfelt to odd to slice of life, a very kind of retrospective on the nature of humanness, which like I'll eat that shit up all day. I love that stuff. We are a beautiful species, but we're capable of such terrible things. And we ride that spectrum, right? Of beauty to chaos to horror, and just our everydayness. And I feel like this is a really cool celebration of all that. The gist of it is there's like a plague, right? And when your eyes turn purple, you have 73 minutes, right, to live.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the question. And that's the focus of all these stories is like, what do you do in your last 73 minutes? Right. Do you embrace the chaos and the evil and like go like embrace your darkest desires, or do you call a friend and apologize and say that you miss them? Do you call an ex-lover and tell them things that you've been scared to tell them for years? Like all this craziness, when your life, you have just enough time for like your life to flash before your eyes and to kind of do a couple last things before you leave the earth. And Sean and Mario are in this anthology, and they are writing stories, and like everything just sounds so intense. Mario, what's your experience like with this? Like, how emotionally exhausted are you? Like, just from both COVID and the emotional intensity of these narratives.
Yeah, COVID's definitely ravaging my body right now. But no, I mean, the premise for this book got me fired up. Actually, if anything, it gave me life. Trying to figure out in a concise story what someone would do with 73 minutes left to live. I mean, that's quite a dilemma, right? It's not a whole hell of a lot of time to do much of anything. So, I mean, you got to think anybody when they go has at least one or two regrets, right? So if you know you're about to go, what do you do in that time frame to kind of make those last few moments mean something? Yeah, the story that Roberto Duque and I went with was more grounded in real life. I mean, we didn't want to do like a horror or anything. It's about a party girl who, when she finds out she has a few minutes left to live, decides to fix one regret that she has in her life.
Is it? I feel it's petty of me because like I don't know what I would do in my last 73 minutes, but I really hope that there would be like a couple people who were fucking dicks to me like during my life. I'm not the best dude, but like I feel like I treat people pretty well, and I'm like, like I'm there for people, and I've like past relationships, like I've treated people well and stuff like that. And so I was like reading stuff like this, I was like, man, like I really hope I would be on someone's like purple call list. Who'll just be like, get that phone call and be like, oh my God, Blake, all I've ever done is think about you before I go to bed each night. And I'll be like, that's right. Yeah, you did. That would be my story that I submitted to this anthology, and would probably be why I did not get into this anthology. I didn't submit anything. I'm not trying to be that. There you are. I was looking for you.
Yeah, that's a great perspective, actually, to do it from the other end instead of someone who's dying, be it someone who's on the receiving end of a death, right?
Yeah.
That would, wow, that would actually be killer.
Well, shit, maybe I should have submitted.
Let's have the call up right now.
I'm like, hey, Phil, I came up with this idea while I was interviewing a couple of your creatives. Can you squeeze me in real quick? Just add I'll be a stretch goal, baby. Like hit 20K, you get the Blake's Buzz story. Oh, that's instant funding. You guys will be funded by tomorrow. I don't know if anyone told all you guys, like the best thing about Blake's Buzz Live is you leave rich. You come on. No, I'm just fucking around. I'm full of shit, guys. I'm full of shit, but I know comics and I know good Kickstarters, and I love talking to you guys. There's a friend here in the chat that here we go. Well, Bearded, that was the only comment I could click on you. None of us are good at our jobs. No, I'm sure some of us are good at our jobs, but I'm not good at my job. I'm good enough to like squeeze by and get a paycheck every couple weeks. That's about as good as I am. But thank you for tuning into the show, and we appreciate all our live viewers. And then I guess since we're talking Purple Eyes, let's see. Did I already pass you?
I don't have a little picture up.
What? Are you even in this book? Did you?
You can see the 5 pages of the first Purple Eyes.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you guys have. I actually got to read your story. I thought that was cool. That was good. Yeah, wow, the power of technology, guys. It's cool. It's fine. It's live. This is how we deal with. So yeah, this is this is Sean's story. You got Justin Birch doing your lettering. You got one of the top letters in the game, which that puts you ahead of a lot of people right there. That's good.
Yeah, Justin has lettered
Philip Script,
everything that I've ever done.
dude. He's awesome. He's good people.
Yeah, he's a good friend.
Oh, nice. He's a friend. Like that's He's not just a letterer. He's a friend. He should put that on his CV letter. Like that would be like I won't just letter your comic. I'm your friend. Like I would hire that guy if that's what his like business card said or something.
Yeah, I would not be here today if it wasn't for Justin Birch. He's a great dude.
Nice. And see, this is so the bearded comic bro also has a really solid YouTube channel. He does a lot of cool videos with his wife. # to not dying alone. Thanks for fucking rubbing it in my face, but that's cool. No, I'm just kidding. But no, it's funny because they make these YouTube videos where they kind of play on her not being super into it and he's really into it, and it has like it's a really good dynamic, and they're really funny, and just there's a lot of love and charm in their little YouTube videos, and I encourage everybody to head over to his YouTube channel, give it a little share, like, and subscribe, and check out his stuff. He knows his shit. Okay, if he tells you to read a comic, he knows what he's talking about, and he does really good interviews too. So thanks for tuning in, and I think we can all agree that Justin Birch is solid. So let's go back to Sean. So Sean, we were kind of talking about this in the green room. You're a very busy man lately. You're doing a digital comic with Dauntless. You're doing this anthology. You're having to take a little break to do some freelance work and some commission work to, pay the bills and keep the food on the table, and you got to keep the champagne pouring, because once that stops, so what's life like when the champagne,
Exactly.
So what's it like working on an anthology? Because is this your first anthology?
So this story in particular, the one that we're showing up on the screen right now, this is my first printed work, actually. This was for Crackle Volume 3, and this is the original Purple Eye story that Phil and I came up with. But this will be my second anthology that I'm in outside of Crackle, so my third in total.
Wow.
Yeah,
You're a blossoming comic book artist though. Like this is all still, we were talking about this is all still fairly new to you, right?
Yeah, I started freelancing almost a year ago to the day. And I've been trying to do comics ever since, just keep on trucking, doing awesome stories. I've had some great opportunities come my way in the past year, and I'm very
cool.
thankful for that.
I want to shout out to David Hazan again for writing a really good comic book series. But you guys don't know, he hasn't announced it yet. He's doing the David's Interdimensional Bear Network, which we've talked about on Twitter, and it hasn't officially gotten published yet or announced, or there's no pitch. It's kind of like a fog of a comic book pitch right now that I came up with. But Mad Cave is thinking about it, and by thinking about it, I mean they don't know about it yet, but if they did know about it, it would probably be a good idea. I'm just guessing. But anyways, we might be a thing in the future one day. We're gonna be like it's gonna be like Kelly Sue and Matt Fraction, but it's gonna be Blake's Buzz and David Hazan, and I'm gonna make all his comic book scripts worse because I don't have any fucking idea what I'm doing. I'm just kidding. But no, yeah. So anyways, David, thank you for always like commenting and tuning into my show, and all of the listeners, it's every week we get a few more, people watch it later. Like I get that it's like Wednesday night and it's sort of late for some people, and some people, I guess like you have families or kids or whatever, like, oh, I get whatever that shit's about, but whatever, that's fine. I get it. But I really appreciate our live viewers, and I like it when you guys hang out, and and we appreciate the comments, and we appreciate the fuck around comments too. But if any of you guys have questions, we have a whole forum here of people that are live and practicing and current on Kickstarter. And so like if anybody's listening, if anybody has a question about like a real question, don't hesitate to ask. Like we like to have fun here, but we also like to spread the knowledge, and all these gentlemen have a lot of knowledge. So like pick their brains if you want to come on. I'll pop the question up, we'll talk about it. you know, Sean's been doing this a year and he's already fucking killing it. He's a master. He's like a black belt in Kickstarter already, which is dope, man. Like that's awesome. And we also mentioned like, so not only did you semi spearhead this Purple Eyes anthology, you're also working.
Phil. I just did the artwork. Phil and I talked about making it an anthology, and he hit me up one day and was just like, "Hey, this is the first anthology that like I'm bringing a lot of other creators into. Do you mind if I take the reins?" And by all means, I was like, "Yeah, I'll sit back and look pretty while you do all the hard work." So by all means, it's all Phil. He's a great dude. He picked out some great stories.
This is the first I've seen of like this is like the reverse of the Twitter discourse of like the writer versus artist. Because it's always so many people are like, oh, the writer gets all the fucking chips and the nachos, and all we get is like the browned guacamole and then like the crumbs. and you're like, nah, man, like, I mean, like, yeah, I drew everything and did it, but like the writer, like, so but that's cool. But I think it's important to hear stuff like that because it's the beautiful thing about comics is it's not just one. Well, there's some people do it by themselves, but they're mutants and it's not fair, right? Like there's the Jeff Lemire's of the world. Like, okay, cool, good for you, bud. I'm really glad you just get to slay all day and do everything perfectly. Michael, you do everything almost solo, don't you?
I do, yeah.
Oh, get it done. Get this. How I get this guy out of here? No, well, I guess that's a good transition. We'll go to Master Michael, the creator of the creators, who also did Monuments. Was technically your last Kickstarter, right?
Yeah, and that was actually that was my first time doing a project with a team. I have some writing partners that I did a lot of anthology work with. If you've heard of FUBAR, which is revisionist history with zombies, all like World War history. And I got paired up with these two guys, Oliver Mertz and Mike Eisenberg, and we made this book, The Monuments, that we did on Kickstarter. It was my pandemic project. It was really nice to be a full-time comic writer and artist for a whole year. And pretty much do nothing but that. And then that went kind of wild and kind of blew up. And
yeah, like just shy of 50K, I believe, right?
Yeah. I never saw that coming. None of us did. I
didn't either, because I was the asshole that I had just launched Blake's Buzz, and you guys sent me. You asked for a review, and I was just at the point where I was learning how stressful emails are and like trying to keep up with emails. And I do all this by myself, right? And so like I'm getting this like influx of emails and all this stuff, and I got this like random, and I was like, okay, I'll like get to it, and then I forgot to get to it, and then I saw people talking about it on Twitter, and I like, because like you tweet the stuff when you back it. It's like, oh, I backed this, and I started seeing like, oh, I backed Monuments, and I was like, why does this look familiar? And then I was like, oh no, I was like, they sent me a fucking review copy, and then I fucking go look at the deal, and you're like at $30,000, and I was like, oh my god, I fucking ignored a $30,000 campaign review opportunity.
Well, it was crazy for us. So I and it was a wonderful experience, and they're the greatest people. I can't wait to do another project with them. We've like spent years together. We always split a booth at New York Comic Con, and it was kind of a dream come true because, like you said, I do most of my work. I write, I draw, I letter, I color. Now I self-publish. I was with a publisher for a while, and the publishing world, and he treated me very fairly, but the publishing world is a crazy one that I kind of moved into self-publishing. But the idea of being able to produce a book and put it out into the world like a full novel in a year, I don't think I'll ever be able to do that on my own. That was an insane process, and it was a lot of fun.
Well, and it was also really good, and that's why I was stoked about the creators, which let's go ahead and get this pulled up here.
Oh yeah.
So you're already funded, right? Which is this always makes the pitch easier. So all right, ladies and gentlemen, like put your fucking credit cards in, because like you're going to get the comic. Like, you're good. You're
Yep.
set. Like, it's anything from here on out. I'm sure there may be some stretch goals and stuff, but so you're sitting. No, all right, never mind. Just kidding.
No, I said yup. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Yep.
I was like,
I will enunciate better next time. Yup.
but yeah, so it's funded. I love your fucking art, dude. I really do. Like, and I really like, yeah, so you got some cool t-shirts here. But I dig this. So this color scheme is goes all through the narrative. It's grayscale with like this really cool, like, purple tinge when the things start coming to life and getting crazy.
Yeah, it's an homage to do you know the children's book Harold and the Purple Crayon?
Yeah.
So when I found out I was going to be a dad back in 2012, my daughter is about to turn 10. I just finished a series that I had done in my 20s and in my 20s, and I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do next. And I was looking through all my old children's books, and I found an old copy of Harold and the Purple Crayon. And if anybody watching doesn't know Harold and the Purple Crayon, it's about a kid sitting in his room, gets bored. It's all black and white. He picks up a purple crayon, draws a window, climbs through it, and kind of creates a world. And I was reading this, and I'm thinking, oh man, this is going to be so sweet to read to my future daughter. And I was like, well, what if this happened in the real world? And my head just exploded with all these ideas of if kids actually had the ability to bring their imaginations to life through their drawings, and it kind of did, that it would just totally change the world. And I teach, and I teach in a public school that has a small magnet program for kids with special needs. And since I teach art, I teach everyone in the same room at the same time. And I get to see how kids build empathy for each other through art making. And so this whole idea of kids' drawings coming to life, and this idea of kids being different, and it can be bad compared to the norm, but really they're really special and can do incredible things and contribute to society in beautiful ways. So the book ended up being kind of an allegory for that, while also just being this crazy homage to one of my favorite kids' books.
So I always loved Harold and the Purple Crayon because I remember my sister when we were younger, she kind of fucked some stuff up by drawing all over everything, but I don't think I ever did that. But I just love, now that we're older, my family likes my sister a lot more. And so I like to remember the things that she did when we were younger. I'm like, remember when you guys liked me and she was the mess? I always like to throw that out there. But she used to draw on stuff and get crazy. And I do remember there was one time she took my mom's lipstick. Or actually, this might have been me. I don't remember. This is a long time. This is the bad thing about like drugs and alcohol and a hard life of colleging. But like one of us took my mom's lipstick and drew all over the dog with it. And I remember getting yelled at for that. So that might have been me. Anyway, maybe I was kind of Harold. Maybe I'm just like trying to change my history and blame my sister on shit. How did
the dog look?
Beautiful.
Of course he did. You're a damn hero for that.
Yeah. But I love this. I love the name too, but I also love there's a lot of elements going on in this narrative. Like volume 1 is real heavy. Like it gets real quick. And then I also love this. It's like we have like the Xavier School for troubled children, except like it's not the Xavier School for troubled children. Like it's, Professor X wouldn't send his X-Men here. Like there's a nefariousness to it, right? Yeah. And so there's just so much happens in volume 1. And I love the art, and I'm not the best at talking about art, which you guys will find when you read my reviews, and I say a lot of things are cool and awesome. And I say like stuff. I reviewed Jenny Zero today, and I said like, ooh, it's a pretty comic. You'd want to make it breakfast in the morning once your legs quit wobbling. So like I say, I'd say like, dick and fart jokes and make art sound cool through that, because I don't have the words to like discuss things as an academic. But your art is kind of chaotic. So is your lettering. it's just it's like it's very detailed, but it's very out there. There's a little bit of like abhumanness to it, which even with that, you still are able to convey like strong emotion, and you can see what your characters are feeling and stuff. And so I really dig it, man. It's very pretty, and the monsters are very monstrous, but everything also has a lot of heart and charm when you need it to, which I think is hard to do.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that, man.
Well, cool.
That's
Cool.
totally
I guess I don't suck as bad as I thought talking about art, but no, like it's a beautiful, it's beautiful, and it's scary, and it's tormented, and it's got a lot of trauma and drama, and also good action and shootouts and violence, and it hits you on a lot of different levels. There's also, I'm sure, some kind of like interwoven commentary about the pain and stress of creation and putting that stuff out into the world, and the burden that it, that you carry to like, put that kind of stuff out there. And just, I mean, I'm sure you can all attest to this, like making comics isn't easy. And I think all of you have comics that deal with a lot of raw human emotion, and that deal with a lot of negative aspects of humanity that we deal with. And there's a weight to that, right? When you create it and put that out into the world, and you got to kind of carry it and shoulder it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like to think my personal brand is like you're crying at the window, like staring outside, like as the rain falls down.
My personal brand is also a lot of crying, but just more complaining crying, not necessarily like an artsy way. It's just my life as a comic book reviewer is really hard, and I just want someone to listen to me bitch about it. And that's why I have you guys on the show, so we can do that. But yeah, no. So Michael's comic is all, like everybody. I think everybody has comics to buy right now, but Michael's Kickstarter is live. There's 3 volumes. For about $20 a volume plus shipping, you can get all 3 volumes sketched. And I've gotten a Michael sketch on Monuments. I got the sketched book plate, and it's very pretty and cool and makes your book cooler. So like, guess what, folks? Like, go drop that $70. Get three nice sized original volumes of a creator's saga of a mutated, sad, angry Harold in the Purple Crown. That will give you nightmares, and not just the nightmares that parents have when they wake up to the mess, but like real nightmares of like the hard hitting emotional trauma of being different and being othered, and being cast out into a society and having to deal with that every day. So yeah, kudos to you, man. It's really cool, and I'm happy you came on the show, and I'm happy your Kickstarter's doing so well.
Me too. I'm happy to be here, man. This is a blast.
Awesome. Well, hey, it's still early.
That's true. I'll hold my
hold all reviews to the end. So our final live Kickstarter tonight, we'll go ahead and jump on to Anthony, who's doing Decay, and your second issue of Decay is up. And now, Anthony, you're busy, dude. Like, you're doing a Kickstarter. You're on everybody's, like, all these creator forums, and you're doing a lot of work with and talking about your Kickstarter experience and how to do things, and not just get out there and do it, right? Because that's the notion of Kickstarter. Like, oh, you want to make a comic, make it. Get out there and do your Kickstarter. But you're participating in that positive kind of discourse where you're like, yes, make a Kickstarter, but like, let me tell you about my experience. Let me talk with other creators about our experience. I love the energy that you're putting out into the community, on top of having a live campaign, which I hear is just like, ain't no thing, just not stressful at all, just a chill endeavor. Like,
see these bags under my eyes. So no, I appreciate that a lot, actually.
Yeah,
thanks
man.
So much.
I'm excited for you. And you have a very we talked about strong emotions and real life stuff, and you have that in spades. There's I mean, it's like, hey, I live in a bad neighborhood. Like, the gunshots that used to scare me as a kid don't scare me anymore, right? It's just like, as long as you don't hear that like whack when it hits the house, like the scary sound, it's just like, oh, that's a few blocks away, we don't have to worry about it. But you have this narrative that talks about gun violence, it talks about it in a creative way, and then you blend in this like afterlife, magic, coming back from the dead, but it's not a zombie narrative. Like, these aren't zombies, this is it's magic, right? And so like, where'd all this come from? I noticed you have a picture of people at the end of your issue 2.
Mm-hmm.
So are you writing this for like a lost loved one, a lost friend? Is there like some nonfiction blended into your narrative?
You can say that, yeah. I mean, I'll keep it vague, keep it light, but yeah, essentially it's about grief, and grief isn't unique to me. It's everybody deals with it, which I think made it a good kicking off point for a story. So there is a lot of, I think I injected enough of myself in there where it's not immediately identifiable, but I also can relate to the characters as I'm writing it.
So how did, and I appreciate that you had Lane Lloyd do a cover, because I have a theory that anybody who gets a cover by Lane Lloyd or a print or something for their Kickstarter, like you have set yourself up above some of the competition, because he pops up in like really awesome campaigns that I stumble across, and it's like, I don't know, when I see his art sticks out, his art says a lot, it's very vibrant and dynamic, and it moves and it flows.
Mm-hmm.
And what made you want to reach out to Lane?
I mean, like, I'm just kind of seeing what other creators are doing. I'd released the issue 1 in August of 2021. So I'm trying to become a student of the craft. And to me, like, a Lane Lloyd cover is almost like a rite of passage, it's almost like a stop, to being like a real deal creator, and their art is fantastic, as you can see.
Yeah. So was issue 1 on Kickstarter?
Mm-hmm.
It was? Okay. Because I remember you talking about it a lot, but I didn't remember the campaign. And I know that this campaign says issue 1 and 2. So this isn't your first Kickstarter.
It's my second Kickstarter.
It's okay. So it's your second.
I was not on Twitter when issue 1 came out.
Okay, so how's that work, man? Because there are times where I fantasize about like getting off Twitter and not dealing with everybody's bullshit, and then I'm like, but if I get off Twitter, like, then like, no one's, like, who do I talk to? Like, I don't have the Facebook following or the Instagram following that I do like on Twitter, and so it's like this necessary evil. So has expanding your social media presence, does that help with Kickstarter campaigns?
Oh yeah, I think I raised like $500 just off of Twitter. It is a necessary evil. It's something you want to do. I wouldn't say you can't do it. Thanks, Leslie. I wouldn't say you couldn't do it without it, but like I said, certainly me being somebody who's new to the scene, and it's an amazing resource. Twitter is an amazing resource. Like, the indie comic Twitter is fantastic. Like, I very rarely have anything, any like bad interactions, and it's all about helping other people get better. And truthfully, that's all I'm concerned about. Like, I kind of like tune out the negative stuff. I try my best anyway, and I'm just like, all right, let me help my guys. Let them help me. Just band together, try to get better.
You do a lot of I see you on a lot of Twitter spaces.
Mm-hmm. Almost a professional Twitter space host at this point.
So is that, I've done one of those, and I won't lie, I was hammered. I got drunk. So here's just a real quick story. I know this is about you guys, but I always gotta tell my story too. But I won't say who it is, and we had a really good time, and it worked out well. But we were gonna do a regular interview, right? We had this interview planned for when I got off work, and then I was going to do the interview and then release it as a podcast, like I do for most of my stuff. And the interview was scheduled for 8, and at 4 p.m. one of the writers was like, "Hey, what if we just do a Twitter Spaces instead?" And I was like, "Oh, okay. Like, I mean, yeah, you're the boss. Like, like I'm always scared that if I tell someone no, like I lost that chance, right? As a podcast host, as a live stream host, like I'm always worried, like, you know, once you tell someone no, like no one's gonna ask anymore. So like you gotta say yes, like yes, yes, yes. And so I was like, all right, I was like, yeah, let's do it. And then they were kind of going back and forth on it. They were like, well, you know, what if we, and I was like, guys, like I'm just here, man, like whatever you want to do. And so I was getting kind of nervous, and I got off work, and then like we started drinking, and like they had a couple drinks too, but I had a couple more, and then a couple more, and then we did this Twitter Spaces, and it was really fun. And then they left, and then like some other comic pros hopped in, and we all started talking about indie comics. It ended up being kind of cool, but that was my first foray into Twitter Spaces, and it was kind of stressful and scary, and I didn't know how
It's
it was
no
going to
different
go.
than this, essentially.
That's true. Yeah, it's live, and you don't know, and it's there. The only bad thing is like, at least with this, like if people miss it, they can go to YouTube and watch it later. And right now there's not a great way to reproduce a Twitter space. Like some
You can
people can record it. Oh, you can now? Okay.
So if you send somebody a link, it'll say ended, but then it'll say recorded. You can play it back. So some people use it as a podcast, which I wouldn't recommend necessarily, because literally anybody can climb in there. You know, like you're really exposing yourself to any and anyone with a Twitter account. But as a forum is fantastic, and what we do is with Phil, actually. Yeah, shouts out to Phil. I'm in his spaces on Wednesdays, and Ian, he does them on Tuesdays. Yeah. Cody, Keeping It Geekly, we do it on Sundays. So yeah, it's a great way for, hey, come in here. We'll, ask us a question. We'll ask you a question. It's good for information. And I just like, my goal is kind of make like a pipeline for like indie creators to kind of get where they need to be, essentially, like get where they want to be, actually. So it's fantastic for that.
So you do like 4 to 5 live stream Twitter Spaces a week, and I'm assuming you got a day job too, and like a life, and then you're also have a live Kickstarter. So I like when you write, are you an early morning writer? Are you a late night writer?
I've always I wrote Decay in months ago, like last year. So I've been writing for 10, 15 years. So I can kind of write whenever. I don't really I've been kind of on a crusade that like there's people are trying to attach too many like rules to writing, and I think a lot of people have like writer's block, and I think it's because they have all this advice that doesn't like actually help you write. It's just like motivational stuff. And it's not like, hey, here's an instructional thing. Here's a template. Here's a template 3-act structure, or for as an example. So I don't really subscribe to that. I can write drunk, sober, morning, night, like anytime on a notepad. Like it don't matter.
Nice. And so you have you write really strong dialogue, and I saw you mention in a thread the other day, someone was like, indie writers, like, what makes your comic stand out? And you mentioned that you were like good or strong dialogue, and you write very strong, believable dialogue. It's very raw, and it doesn't feel forced. I guess organic is the word, right? I feel like I say organic too much, man. I feel like I work at fucking Whole Foods. Like it's organic and it's great and it's good for you, and your pee will be neon, but hey, your cells will balance out. But anyway, but so you have strong, punchy, natural dialogue. What made you want to get into comics? Because I feel like you would be a strong prose writer too. Like where did your love for this medium come from?
So I really my first love is really screenwriting. So I am trying to respect the medium. That's kind of why I try to really go out of my way to try to help other comic creators, because this isn't my first love. I'm almost like I like a visitor, not a visitor, but like this isn't my culture. I still don't really know what a pull list is. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I'm so new to it. I want to add to instead of take away. So the dialogue is just, I got that from screenwriting. So I was like, okay, this can be like my thing. Like, okay, I really focused on, like I'm just obsessed with like Aaron Sorkin, Tarantino, James Gunn. So, and then I can't write a book. I don't have the attention span that's what a prose is, right? I'm not.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
I mean, you can do novellas and short stories, and that's where my background was. Dude, it's so many fucking words.
It's a lot of words.
It's a lot of words. David Hazan asks why Kermit is working at Whole Foods, and that's because Miss Piggy doesn't fuck around, man. That's basically the she makes me go there after work and we can't buy the bacon. Never buy the bacon. This is why I'm not a comedian, guys. I host live streams and do podcasts. I'm sorry my jokes aren't good. Anyways, thanks, David. Thanks for making it awkward. Anthony, I dig your first 2 issues. This is your second issue live right now. Campaign's in a good spot. It's getting steady backers. It's climbing. It's gonna get there. I feel like it's gonna get there. And if you don't, I really hope you yell at everybody you've spent time like streaming and advising, because like you're building this audience and people love you and follow you, and it's just like, give you the $5, man. Like, give him the $5, ladies and gentlemen. Seven.
I mean, that's the worst way to spend $7.
It's nothing,
It's like a Big
man.
Mac meal.
Yeah, yes. You could buy some fucking soggy fries at McDonald's. You could buy a fucking really good indie comic. Like, wake up, ladies and gentlemen, do the right thing. How many issues is this going to run, you think? What are you feeling?
It's going to be 5. No, it's going to be 5. I've already written the story out.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's been a little difficult. Like, I'm kind of running into, I don't want to say trouble, but like, it's like you have the idea all planned out. So it's like, you have so much faith in it. It's hard. You have to get into the mindset of somebody, like you have to sell to somebody. And it's like, what are you guys doing? The story's great, but I have to like be like, no, I have to like make this approachable for people, So as a new creator, that's something I'm focusing on, that I'm learning.
Well, I think it's very approachable. I think it's I was gonna call it fun, but it's not fun. It's traumatic and it's heavy, but in a good way. You know, in a way that like that makes you want to keep turning those pages like faster and faster. And so yeah, it's got a lot of culture in it. It's got a lot of I think you mentioned, it's a story about grief, and as it very much hits you, like, we've all lost things, and people, and it makes it very relatable. And I love the fear and confusion of like, what if someone could come back, and would we want them to come back? And then also I love the whole deal of the magic in this narrative too, right? Because it's like, not only do like we can want them to come back, but they have to want to come back too. And then that whole deal of like the dead have needs and wants. And I don't know, man, it's very fun to think about. And I think you have a cool narrative with many layers, and I'm stoked to keep exploring the issues as you crank them out. So get out there and back this campaign, ladies and gentlemen. Decay on Kickstarter. It's good. And last but not least, Doug, you've been quiet. This is the bad. We've got a bigger cast tonight. I always feel bad because it's like I don't forget about anybody, right? But like sometimes we all gotta like be quiet and listen to people talk, or more importantly, be quiet while I talk, because this is my show and it's my time, it's my party. Okay. And I'm the pretty princess here, guys, and I'm gonna do it. No, but Doug right now, Doug is no stranger to Kickstarter, and Doug actually had a Kickstarter picked up by SourcePoint Press, which, I mean, like, that's like the cool thing to do, right? When you put out a Kickstarter that's so good, some indie publisher gets like mad that they didn't accept the pitch right away, and then come back and they're like, okay, like, yeah, this is a good idea. And you got that with Ultramax. And so like, how does that feel, man? Like, how's that feel to like, you had this successful campaign, and you put the trade out, you released the issues, and then you released the trade, and you developed this following. Oh, you did just do the trade.
Yeah. We were kind of scared to do a piecemeal. So we were like, let's go for the home run. Let's go for the trade. And luckily, even though it was my first time doing it, people were there and supported us. It was really awesome. And while we were finishing up him drawing issue 1, I went ahead and sent it out. Unfortunately, it was also 1/6. So I was like, oh, I just tanked an email on the very weird day to be sending out emails to publishers. But a few months later, they came back and say, hey, we love this. Let's give it a shot. And so I'm so happy to be showing this to a bigger audience than I would have ever had. It's really awesome.
Yeah, I'm stoked too, because it's good. I'm a really big. I mentioned this when I did my last interview for the regular podcast, but like, I love indie cape stories, and I know people frown on that sometimes because they're like, well, I go to indies to get away from cape stories, right? It's like, I want to be like cooler and hipper and everything's better. But like, man, it's okay to tell indie cape stories. Like, it's okay to get weird and focus on the humanness of it, and focus on the trauma and the weight and the anger that comes with having like unlimited power, and the world still doesn't work how you want it to. Like, I love that, and I think it makes for really strong writing, and you amplify that by doing a cape story in prison, which is nuts. It's like the Oz meets the Boys meets, you know,
Powers,
Vertigo shit.
Invincible.
Yeah. And so like what inspired you? Like, where did all this stem from? Like, tell me your deepest, darkest secret so I can steal your ideas and stuff.
This weird idea that just came to me about like this character that was in a prison, and what was he doing there, why? And I was like, I remember the episode of Batman the Animated Series where this guy thinks he's killed the Joker, or he's killed Batman, and the Joker's just pissed that this random nobody's killed Batman. The Joker's after him, and that got me thinking, like, what happens to a dude that actually does kill a like Batman type person, and he goes through the jail, prison system. What's he gonna do in there? People are gonna think he's a hero because he killed a person. Some people are gonna be like pissed because you took my opportunity to do my revenge that I wanted. And I thought about it kind of also like, this guy is probably gonna get life in prison, right? Because murder, right? And I was like, well, what if he tries to make a plea with the the feds, and then now he's a snitch. Now he's got a secret to keep. So I just kept going with it until I had like a full idea, and it was just I don't know. It was one of my first ideas. I've been working on it forever, and I'm just happy.
I agree with everybody in the chat's name is Dave or David. It's fucking gnarly. Everybody's name is David. I agree. Anything stemming from Batman the Animated Series is hard to go wrong. I feel like a lot of us who grew up nerdy, like that was something we all grew up with and appreciated and adored. Now I have a question, Doug. So I don't want to, because I know this is coming out right now and it's getting a new audience. So like I won't spoil anything, but these 3 issues, there's a lot of twists and turns, and it's a very good whodunit and a very good mystery. And how does one navigate via structure and pacing, through the narrative? And you didn't give yourself a lot of space, right? So like this is a smaller trade. So it's not like you had 6-7 issues to like spin us around and blowing our ears, and when we turn around no one's there. Like, you didn't have a lot of room to do that. So like how do you keep your audience on their toes, and how do you misdirect so wonderfully, because you're very good at that?
I think a lot of it came from when I started back to try. I wrote comics for years and I did nothing with it, and I wasted time. And when I restarted a couple of years ago trying to make comics, I started with the Comics Jam, and we would just do 1-page scripts every week of trying to figure out how to take a prompt, get it to complete, and then give it to an artist who would take a month and draw the thing. And working at a smaller chunk just really helped me with how I told stories. And it just kept evolving. So I would do 1 pages, then I started doing 4-page stories, which I ended up getting picked up for a short story contest to be a finalist. And then I tried one-shots, and then this was my first shot at doing something kind of more of a full series, and just that muscle of building until it feels like the weight's kind of coming off at 4 issues, because that actually fills more space for me than most people are like, this is a handcuff. I can't work at this size,
So your co-creator, let me pull up his Leslie. You guys are working on Savage Wizard, which I'm super excited for, and can't wait to get that in my hands. And I've asked you the same thing, and I know you're not really allowed to necessarily talk about it yet, and it also depends on like a lot of like hanging vines from the tree and stuff like that. But what, if you were given the opportunity, would you want to extend this Ultramax world? Would you want to explore it more, or do you think this was like
I
said what he said?
Planned to, but I kept getting the word back asking me, hey, are you going to do more? Is there more? When is more? And then I just just talked to the artist Michael Picard, and I said, "What's this idea, and how do you like it?" And he said, "Oh, yeah, if we do it, this is the story." And so, if we get an opportunity, I would love to do it. Source Point Press, that was the first thing I asked them was, "Hey, how would I get to do more?" And they said it was based on issue 1 sells, and so hopefully that happened. I pitched them also kind of like an adjacent story, which they weren't as interested in. So hopefully I'll get to try to do that too on Kickstarter real soon.
How does it work when you get picked up after a Kickstarter campaign and a publisher picks it up? Like, do you still hold the rights? Like, if you wanted to do a second arc and say Source Point said no, can you just be like, okay, well, I'm gonna take it back to crowdfunding, or do you how does that work? Okay.
Based on the contract I signed, it's I offered them, if they pass on it, I'm free to do whatever I want to with it. And so that was it was like the second question I think I went and asked them. I was like, hey, do I retain control of this? Can I walk away at any time? I had been burned in the past, and so I just wanted to make sure I was taken care of this time. And so happy that it happened.
Nice. That's good. I've heard, well, I mean, I think we've all heard in the last year or so the predatory publisher stories that no one wants, and now everybody's kind of scared of, and I think luckily it kind of is a bummer that the people that got fucked in more sense of the word, like they shared their stories so that new people can learn from their mistakes, or to pay closer mind to these things that we sign, and rights and how you withhold these creations. But that's good. I've never heard anything bad about Source Point. Everybody seems to really love working with them, and they seem to be like really awesome people. And it's like 3 people working out of a garage. It's not 3 people, but it's less than 10 people, I think, right? It's like 8 or 9 people. Like they're not a big company.
I couldn't give you numbers. I did meet like their warehouse guy at like C2E2 and stuff like that, but I don't know the number of employees, unfortunately.
Yeah, they very much, and they may be a little bit bigger now, but they very much started as like a punk rock garage band of like this. They started in a garage, and they got this idea to publish comics, and they were shipping and packaging comics and stuff out of their garage. It would actually be a really cool documentary, like a nerdumentary to talk about Source Point one day, because they put out great material, and they don't it's crazy how indie comics work. It's the content that can be put out there with a smaller amount of people doing 3 people's amount of work, right? And they just do this because they love comics and they love good stories. And so I don't know, stuff like that makes me feel warm inside, and I love when friends and good people get to take advantage of that. And I'm really glad that you're with them now, Doug. And I think Ultramax is in a good place, and I hope your issues move, and I hope we get more of the story, because it's a cool story, and I love Picard's art. But I mean, he's busy too. He does a ton of Kickstarter work too. So I mean, you got to deal with that.
Well, yeah, his art is evolving. I am hoping that we'll get another chance, because this art was definitely the first of an artist, and that next step he's already starting to hit it, and I would hope to come back and show people, okay, this is the evolution, this is what we really want to do, and I'm excited if we get a chance.
Yeah, he also seems like a good guy. I'd like to have him on the show one day. Shout out, hit me up, dude. I'm here. But it's so this is an interesting aspect that we usually I usually hear people talk about or it seems like that, yes, people love Kickstarters, they love Zoop, they love crowdfunding. It enables you to tell these stories that sometimes you wouldn't be able to tell, right? Unless you kind of just grabbed the reins and took all that, pressure and life and did all that yourself, your own press, your own publishing, find the printer, package it, mail it, sit and watch episodes of whatever new show you're watching while you blindly bag and board, 300 issues of something, and then take it to the post office and look into that clerk's, dead-eyed stare who's like, fuck you for bringing these 300 boxes to me. I'm on vacation tomorrow. This is my last day for 5 days, and you're bringing me a crate of fucking boxes that you want me to stamp and sticker and send off because you're an artist, anyway, you do all that yourself. It's a heavy burden. It's a thing. And but I, you know, it often seems like a lot of people get excited like later, or like, ooh, a publisher picked me up. Or like, you know, Sean is working for Dauntless and has a little help with Dauntless doing his own endeavors. But then like Michael mentioned was like, Michael worked with a publisher and then kind of missed the crowdfunding and maybe missed that freedom. And, you know, you, Doug, you are a crowdfunding, you know, like you're a pillar of the crowdfunding community. Like tons of people know you, tons of people love you, and you do good work and you write good stories and you help other people and you help expose other people. Same with you, Anthony. But like, what do you guys think? Like, is this crowdfunding freedom? Is it worth it? Or like, would you rather have a publisher like at your back, you know, kind of nudging you? Like,
I find for me, the Kickstarting is more fulfilling, but the working with the publisher helps expand the audience. So I have a better success, hopefully, when I come back to Kickstarter. And so that's why I take some shots with publishers, is in trying to build up to do more stuff for myself.
okay.
I have a so I was with the publisher for my first series for years and was treated extremely fairly and kindly. But I come in from a slightly different place. I started by doing I'm a screen printer, and I design and print T-shirts, and I do a ton of like craft shows, and it kind of came in selling apparel. And so I found I was selling a lot more books at physical shows, like meeting people and building an audience through an email list, than I was through an indie publisher. And so when I finally got to do the creators, I started it off with like, all right, I'll try this Kickstarter thing. And this was kind of in the early days. It was back in 2012. And feeling like, oh man, I don't know if this is an okay thing to do. You know, everybody was kind of questioning it. And then was just blown away by the amount of people that were like, oh, I really want to support this. I see what you're doing. I'm into it. And using Kickstarter as a way to fund a print run for like, so it's completely paying for a print run. And then I send, you know, 20% of the books out to people. And then I have this huge stock that I can travel around the country and sell for, you know, profit. The first year that I came out with a novel through Kickstarter was the first year I paid my mortgage with comics after being in the business for 10 years.
Wow.
And I have a very...
It must have been scary too, because if you were one of the first people to get into Kickstarter, like I know novels, there's a bad perception of people that self-publish. So being like kind of pioneering like that self-publishing Kickstarter must have been a little bit of nerve-wracking. Like, hey, am I going to shoot myself for future opportunities? Because
well, if nobody knows who you are, you can't shoot yourself in the foot. And you know, I think with books especially, you can always kind of reinvent yourself. If something doesn't work, you just try something new. But I think that you're right. I think that like I've backed a lot of comic book Kickstarters, and you know, there is this range of, I feel bad saying this, but there's a range of quality of people who self-publish their stuff. And you know, I came into it from a place of being in publishing, and not that is a guarantee of quality at all.
Yeah.
But I think asking people to trust you and then working your ass off to deliver on that trust is what Kickstarter is all about. I think if you do a project and people believe in the idea and they get it and they're like, that wasn't what I thought it was going to be, then, you know, you have to start from scratch. But I think if you make something and you deliver on it and you really like hit people on that like emotional or excitement level of that a book can, then you're good. And then eventually you'll have to start over anyway, because you're going to start a new project.
So, Sean, with you, like your projects with Dauntless haven't gone down the route that others have, because like you're doing that like hybrid, like digital physical release, and you can do pre-orders, but like you weren't part of their kind of like green light deal that they've done with other creators. But how's it like, how's it working with them? Like, we met again in the green room, we were talking for a moment, and you kind of changed, not a major change in the schedule of your release, but you kind of gave yourself an off week, right? To like be human and do, other things other than this, like, living and dying by your own comic book release. You have like a week off between that. But like, but I also know you've done a lot of press too, to promote your own work. So what's it like working with a publisher in that regard? Like, would you ever go Kickstarter, or would you take the extra help where you can?
So one thing that I went into Dauntless, like, and Uncovered Grave, I was really worried because at the time I only had like maybe 100 followers on Twitter. I'm still breaking into like social media and whatnot. So when I went with Dauntless and Marcus over there, I mainly was focusing on having somebody else to help me reach out to an audience, because that was my biggest fear of, like, I'm confident in my work and I'm confident of Purple Eyes and I'm confident in Uncovered Grave, but I wanted to make sure somebody would actually read it. So I definitely enjoy working with Marcus and Dauntless, but I actually do have plans in the future of wanting to do my own Kickstarters. I'm working slowly, like writing a book right now that I think I want to take over there. And I've been slowly putting together a horror anthology of like monster stories, a collection of like creators and whatnot. So as much as I love working with Dauntless, I also want to get like that experience doing it for myself. And like, I enjoy the grassroots of comics and being able to do everything by yourself.
Okay. What about you, Mario? Like, you're in the midst of an anthology too. And, like, how do you feel about it? And I know, like, another one of the stressors that I don't think we talk about a lot is, the higher price of anthology in regards to, like, backer commitment. And I think, I think there's two edges to that blade, right? Because it's like, there's more creatives. When you pool all your fans together, when you have these like multiple creators and writers and artists, everybody working together, everybody's got their own following. So sometimes that helps, right? You have like a bigger pool of people that are going to want to buy this. But then there's also that notion of the higher asking price for Kickstarter fulfillment. And so, like, how are you dealing with all this with Purple Eyes and your story and being about social media and all that?
Honestly, for this one, I'm not really part of the front office at all. I'm just on the creative. I know in talking with Phil and talk with my team, we're contributing to help out with the higher costs, some slots to be drawn into the story that Roberto's doing. But I mean, I think you hit on the head. When it's a bigger book with a higher price tag on it, everybody kind of contributing and reaching out to their circles, is a key factor in helping to get to, that goal. I mean, I think the more eyes on it, the more potential buyers there are. But I'm sure there is overlap, of course, over a group of people of how many, followers follow me, follow Sean, follow Phil, follow anyone else. But it's in relation to your question, I think being active in social media is key, but that's also a grind. I mean, my tweets are just dick jokes and randomness sometimes. So I was trying to learn the difference between, turning on that part and turning off the part that just wants to complain about, my neighbor who walks their dog and lets them piss in front of everyone's windows. That's kind of weird. Because you don't want someone's like, oh, what's this book here? Let me click on this person, see more about them. Oh, they're just complaining about the DMV all day. I mean, I think Michael said it best earlier when he said that when you really don't have a name, I'm paraphrasing you, sorry. When you really have a name, you can shoot yourself in the foot. But I think when you're part of a bigger collective like that, and it's imperative for you to help promote, to help everyone else get over, sometimes what you do on social media will affect, the overall book, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Phil was DMing me earlier, and he was like, dude, like, I'm so stoked for you to talk to them, and like, thank you so much. And I was like, dude, you're wildly overestimating the power of Blake's buzz, but I'm very happy to talk about your campaign.
Oh man, Phil is hype. I love talking to him. He is
Yeah,
100% energetic.
he's cool.
Energy he tells you, but you can still feel the energy behind it. You know?
Yeah, it's it's invasive and chaotic and like your COVID, very contagious. But it's, sorry, I shouldn't make fun of you for having COVID. I guess I'm not a good host.
It's all right. It's all right. That's what we're here for. You know, I appreciate my own foibles. You know. So.
I'm just glad it makes me feel better. Like, so, I'm a large man and I have, things not going well for me health wise, but at least like I don't smoke cigarettes and stuff anymore. But like, that I was scared. Like I was like, oh, like if I get COVID, I'm going to die. Like I'm one of those like fat, lazy people that just like gets COVID and then it like turns into pneumonia that like eats you alive. And then you're like a withered husk that like someone's going to find out in the garage while I'm trying to record a podcast or something. Right. So like, that's what I was always scared of. And then my dad's had open heart surgery and stuff. Okay. And so like, I was really, for a long time, there was like we were very frightened. Right. And it was like, we always masked up. We still mask up because I'm like used to wearing a mask now, man. I feel I didn't wear one at the store the other day. And I was like, dude, it was like, I was like, am I gonna get the store pregnant? Like, it was like that fear of like, like unprotected sex. It was just like, like this, it feels great and it's fun and it's wild, but like, am I gonna pay for this for the rest of my life? I don't know. But it's I'm glad I'm assuming you're like vaxxed and have gotten the shots and stuff, right? Yeah. So like, it's good to know that like it's not the death sentence that it once was, or like even one of my coworkers, she was out. She missed 8 months of work. She had like the long form pneumonia stuff from it.
Oh wow!
And so like she was out for 8 months and had to get like partial disability. And like we have okay health insurance, but it's when you miss 8 months of work, man, that's there's not a lot that can help you. You're going to be hurting for a while. And so like so she missed a ton of work, and then she had to like we talk on the phone all day, and so like her lungs would not let her talk on the phone all day. And she would be like out of breath, sitting down, talking in the headset. And so it's just like, that's the COVID I know. And so it's very, not to say that your sickness is refreshing, but it's nice to see that like things are changing. And if you're smart and get the shots and do the right things, like it's not this burden that it used to be. Like there's like a bright side at the end of the tunnel. So, I mean, no, like it's nice to see like, a year ago, if someone had COVID, they wouldn't have a smile on their face and they probably wouldn't be on a podcast, right? Like,
yeah. I mean, I have an inhaler with me. I keep it in my pocket all the time anyway, because I'm a fat guy who has asthma. So of course, my doctor yesterday was like, I need you to get an oxygen reader machine, right? Make sure you're doing all your stuff. Just keep an eye on your breathing, keep an eye on your blood oxygen. And, but yeah, she was really positive that I didn't have to come in and get all sorts of crazy things. She, saw my booster shot was 6 months ago. They probably want me to get another one when this is over. So, it's really stupid how
they didn't like throw you on like the crazy steroid cocktail that some people got, and like,
no,
you weren't
just
on
like
that.
throwing a bunch of dictionary terms at me, and my wife's like, "That's vitamin C." I'm like, "All right, just vitamin C, and just drink soup and crap." I'm like, "All right, I guess I can do that."
Yeah, a week off of work and I can eat soup. Yeah, it's done. Let's do it. I'm just kidding, but no, that's cool. But now is this not necessarily like the COVID part, but like have you done a lot of press for Purple Eyes? Like, I mean, you guys just went like you're a fairly new campaign. Did you guys do like pre-launch stuff for that, or
Phil's really been the front man for all this stuff. I mean, he knows I've been dealing with this for the last few days. A couple weeks before that, I was in the hospital for diverticulitis. So, I mean, I've just been out of it. But, Phil's really just been the front man. I mean, Sean knows Phil's just out there. He's doing all the podcasts. He's doing all the press. And I know some campaigns I've been on, the producers will ask everyone to reach out to all their contacts and hit them up and try to get as much press as possible. But, Phil's been the man. He's been, Atlas keeping us on his shoulders.
Nice. That's cool. Yeah. Until tonight, till Blake's buzz, he just threw you guys out to the wolves. He's like, you deal with this weirdo B guy. I'll get the next one.
Yeah, as far as I know, Phil's doing like a podcast every day for the next month.
Yeah.
He's taken all of this on like all by himself. He's doing a really good job.
That's
I'm sure right now
the
he's
that's
watching
the
people
David
like-
Papose methodology.
Yeah.
I've interviewed David for 2 OZ campaigns, or no, 2 OZ campaigns, and the second one for OZ2, like I and he told me, and we like talk online sometimes, so like I know he's cool with me, but he was like yeah, you're like my third podcast today, and I got like 2 more, and I was like, no pressure, I'm gonna ask you all the same questions. Oh no, like, which is, I mean, I feel like most people who listen to my podcast, I'm not a question asker, like I'm a vibe picker upper, and we just kind of like go with it. Like who would thought I would be unorganized, right? Like what? No, but no, like, I mean, you know, I don't have like a series of questions I ask people. You know, I read your guys' material, and you know, I want to make sure we talk about your comics, but like I like talking about you guys and how you write and how you think and how your lives are going. And I think that makes for a better show, because, you know, like if people think you sound cool and you sound interesting, you know, they're going to back your campaign. But if all we talk about is your campaign for 2 hours, are they going to listen to the whole thing? Are they going to stay for that hour and a half or 2 hours? So yeah, I think there's a weird kind of balance. And you know, I like that weird kind of balance. I feel like I'm not good at many things, but I'm good at running my mouth and making people talk about stuff, which I worked in a bar for 7 years, and I was a bouncer and a bar back. And so, you know, like a lot of times, like I knew to kiss the right amount of ass where like it wasn't uncomfortable, but they would stay sitting at the bar and they would tip better. Right. So it's like I like, you know, use that in my interviews. So where like, I want to make you guys feel special and pretty, but I don't want to creep you out. And then I want you to like want to leave me money by the end of the interview, basically. And I think it, you know, I guess I do all right. You know, people keep listening, people keep tuning in, and if you're like Sean, you can come back on my show. So that's, you know, either Sean hates himself and just really wants to like put himself through the ringer, or maybe Blake's buzz ain't so bad. But no, but I'm very interested in anthologies just because there's so many out right now. And you know, horror, right? Horror is the big anthology. Like everybody wants the horror anthologies. And so to do a successful one of those, you got to kind of, you know, put a good spin on it. Purple Eyes, when I first heard about it, I thought it was going to be a horror anthology, but it's more slice of life. It's more, like we mentioned earlier, a celebration of what it is to be human, and to think about what it is when that humanness is dwindling, when it's almost done, and when you can see the end before you, like closer than most normal people can. I mean, even if you get like the worst kinds of cancer and everything's wrong with you, right? The doctor's going to tell you like, oh, well, you know it. And that's what I hate about doctors, as best as they do, and all the things that they accomplish and everything they deal with. But like, I've seen this in my own family where it's like, what, it could be 30 days or another 5 years. Like that's a big fucking timeline, right? Like how do you live with that? And then like, it's almost, I mean, I don't know if that would be better, or like you got 76, obviously 30 days would be better than 76 minutes, but like that kind of time frame that like teases you, where you're like, oh, maybe I do have a chance, but maybe not. But just to know like, oh, I have this exact amount of time. Like, I feel like that's both like a prison and like intensely like free and liberating, like a weird kind of simultaneous like juxtaposition of life and death, and how to celebrate and end it. I don't know, like, you know, it's when you have like a definite end, and I think that's what the anthology deals with, is like, what do you do when you have a definitive end? You know, are you the good guy or are you the bad guy? You really get to see who you are, right? And that's what these stories are going to explore, and that's what I'm really excited about. And that's why you motherfuckers need to get out there on Kickstarter and back this campaign, because it needs $18,000. And if it doesn't get funded, I'm going to get mad because I want to read it. This is all a selfish endeavor, guys. I do these interviews so that these books get backed, so that I can buy them, so that I can enjoy them, right? And like, you guys think I'm here helping you out, and I'm this like pillar of the indie community. I'm just a selfish motherfucker who wants more comics, man. And I want Purple Eyes. I want it. I got the early bird special. I saved $10. I want to read these stories. So get your nerdy butts over to Kickstarter and back it. That's just my 2 cents. And speaking of anthologies, Doug, you got one on the horizon.
Yes. I last year got to run my first anthology. It's 300 pages. Mario was a part of it, and so many more. What I really wanted to do was take big name creators, like you mentioned before, David Pepos, and people like Eric Palke that's done a lot of amazing work, and pair them with some newer creators that maybe hadn't got a chance to do something, or somebody that was kind of up and coming. And I wanted to do it in kind of a Shonen Jump style where there's just so many stories. You could tell a full story. You could use it as a jump off point to maybe kickstart your own book, maybe find an audience and build off of this anthology. And so we're coming up with volume 2. The last part of it is being completed as I speak. I sent you kind of a early preview. It's already 200 pages or more, I think. Yeah. And so hoping another big, huge chunk of a book that you get, a full 20-page story like multiple times throughout the book. So you're getting somebody's first, issue in a book surrounded by a bunch of other smaller stories that people are trying to find their footing in the industry. And hopefully we'll get a big turnout like we did last time.
So this one's going to be bigger and better than, because the volume 1 was under 200 pages, right? Or right at? Or just
no, it was 300 pages, yeah. And
I can't count. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's and yeah, we got it. It's looking so much more impressive. Not to talk down about anybody from the first volume, but it's just, I don't know, stronger group of people. That's what I'm going to try to say. Less chaotic as the first one was. Like, hey, I didn't know what I was doing. I tried something smaller. This was much more unwieldy. So it's coming along beautifully. I got people like Michael Conrad, who does Wonder Woman and Batgirls, doing a story for it. We've got a bunch of amazing creators. I'm trying to think. Fernando Pinto, he's an amazing artist, kind of cartoonist. He's doing a full story. I've seen some of those pages that are amazing. Ben Morris, he's shown me some of his pages as well. He's amazing. He's done a couple Kickstarters for, what is that comic called? Oh, sorry, I'm blanking. Sorry again. And I don't know. There's so many people. It's hard to just like shout at everybody, but please, it's coming up soon, and I hope we have the same turnout. We nearly raised $10,000 last time, and hoping to do something similar again this time.
I remember I backed that because I was interviewing, oddly enough, I was interviewing David Pepose for an early, one of the early podcasts I used to be on with other people before I found out that like podcast drama is a thing and like people are mean and aggravating. And that's why I just do things all by myself now, even though like that's also aggravating sometimes, because it's like, man, I wish I had help, but fuck, do I not want to depend on anybody? And like, but anyway, but I'm interviewing David Pepose and we're like talking about stuff, and David tells us about Roxy Rewind, and I was like, wait, what? Roxy Rewind? I was like, I researched you before we did this interview. Like, I didn't see this. And he's like, no, I'm in this big hype anthology. And so me and the co-host are like pulling out our phones mid-interview, and we're like, hold on, David, we're backing this right now. And we're like, while he's like talking to us, we're backing it. And no regrets, man. Roxy Rewind was great, but there's so much strength in that. And I know Leslie, who's been in the comments, he had a really good story. When I interviewed Jared Lahan, we talked about this, and Jared was worried that you were going to pull his story because he thought it was like too dark and sad, and he was worried it like wouldn't like vibe with everything else. Which, I mean, I loved that amalgamation of craziness. There was just so much in there, and now I'm really into manga. Like even before I read this, I wasn't as into it as I am now, but I love the form factor. They're comfortable to hold. I love the size of that of the book, and I love the celebration of Shonen Jump. I love how everything's so different and so wonderful, and the black and white and the inks, really showcase the art and make that even more powerful.
It was kind of perfect timing because at the time of COVID had started shutting down, there was so many anthologies just being shut down, and I was like, hey, there's a void to fill in here. And I just kind of reached out to a bunch of people and said, hey, would you like to get on board with me? And to my shock, everybody said yes, basically. And the one person that said no came back later and said, hey, my writer partner talked me into it. So I just got lucky, and I continue with volume 2. I just reached out to a bunch of people that I thought they're definitely going to tell me no, and they told me yes, and it's been pretty awesome so far. I don't know if this is going to pick up on, but this is our cover for number 2. It's coming out. It's Jimmy. Oh shit! How do you pronounce his last name? Kuja. He does. Did I lose internet?
You're freezing a little bit.
I think my internet messed up.
I think it did.
I think so.
Yeah.
Oh no!
Wait.
You're coming back to us, Doug.
All right.
Am I back?
10 frames per second.
He's an 80s cartoon right now.
Live out by the cows. I'm sorry.
You're fine. So when are you planning on, like, when can we back this? When can we give you some money?
We're shooting for June. When I did this book, I got it pre-printed to show off, and I think that really helped out, is showing, hey, this thing is done, it's ready to go. And so I'm hoping, even with the paper storage, I can get like 1 or 2 copies printed to show off before we run. And I'm hoping June is what I'm trying to say.
Nice. Now, did I hear from you correctly? Are you already securing submissions for volume 3 too?
Oh, we already took them in, and yeah.
Oh, so you did already do it. Yeah. All right. So you're like, how many would you, so you're on volume 3. I hear anthologies, like, as wonderful as they are, I hear they're just stressful as fuck. So, like, I mean, is it worth it? Like, would you want to keep going with it? Or, and you do a lot of your own solo projects too. Like, how does that, like, impede on your creative process for other endeavors? Like, what do you want to do? What would you want Big Hype to do, like, in the future?
I cheated and had a ton of, like, an army of editors, which kind of kept me afloat. I didn't have to micromanage everything. If I tried to do it all by myself, yes, I would be sunk, and this would have never happened. I would like to keep going. I like to give new people opportunities to get seen, and hopefully that would be a help. I'm hoping to pivot. I would like to try to start putting out people's work in a completed format, you know, somebody's first OGN, maybe. That would be really awesome. I'm trying to talk to creators, get them on board right now. We'll see if anybody was willing to sign with me or not.
Are you gonna launch your own publishing house, Doug? I feel like you're taking baby steps to this.
I'm trying.
I think that would be so cool. When I was younger, when I was in my MFA days and stuff, when I was, like, submitting short stories and stuff, I used to have dreams of, like, having my own literary journal to cater to, like, you know, new aspiring artists that haven't been published yet, because it's so hard, man. It's so fucking hard. Whether comics or prose or poetry or art or photography, when you don't have any published, like, when you don't have anything to, like, back up your submissions, like, your submission loses strength. Like, it's a lot easier to say, like, oh, I was published in this journal, and this journal, and now I'm giving you this story, and you should probably be smart and take it because, like, people are publishing me. But, like, when you can't say that, it's very different. And that's the power of Kickstarter, right? Is because that notion of self-publishing, that it doesn't put a bad taste in people's mouths anymore like it used to, because it especially in prose and poetry and with, like, novels and stuff, like, back in the day, man, anybody could self-publish a novel on Amazon or pay someone a few bucks to print it, and it didn't mean it was good, and it didn't mean it was worth reading. It just meant that, like, you could pay some money and have some real books and sell them. And now I feel like that notion is dwindling. Like, I feel like self-publishing is a very righteous means of, especially in comics, like, it's a respectable means of publication. And especially because of all the work you guys have to do that. Like, yes, you have, like, you know, you've gone around the main, you know, post of, like, having a traditional publisher and doing things the traditional way. But also, what's the traditional way anymore? Like the last 2 years, so much has changed. But when you do self-publish, like we talked about earlier, like the shipping, the promotion, the printing, all this stuff you guys have to take on your own shoulders and do all of this yourself. And maybe some of your friends help you, but it's not like you have a ton of help other than like a good community, which we now have too. We have a good crowdfunding community to ask questions and get help and get advice. But even with that, like at the end of the day, it's still you guys, wrestling against the drama of life and your own, responsibilities and things you're already preoccupied with in your day to day to get this stuff put out. And I also think that takes a special creative to do, because I don't think everybody can hang with that. Even if you're talented, even if you can write, even if you can draw, even if you have a great story, like there's a lot of drive that has to be inside of you to like take that responsibility under wing and be like, fuck you, I'm going to do it myself, because it's not easy.
Yeah. And there's so many outliers still that are not in our groups that I hope we will be able to reach out to, because it's just like we have that well of knowledge and they don't have that. And if we could just spread, more and be able to shout out so people have less of those pitfalls, because they're still out there. And you still hear the embarrassing stories on Kickstarter, like my book came this way, and hopefully we can get to a better spot for everybody that can. I don't know, sorry, I'm a little jumbled up, but I'm hopefully that we can reach a bigger group of the creators.
Let's go around real quick. Let's start with Anthony. All of you guys have a toe at least into Kickstarter, and you are indie creators, and you're doing a lot on your own, and with or without the help of a publisher that you may or may not have. Anthony, what is your advice to a budding creative who's like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to tell my story. I'm going to tell it my own way. I'm going to do it by myself. Like what's the first thing you could tell them that you wish someone told you?
I'm gonna pivot back to Doug real quick, because I grew up on Shonen. I have a whole box of the old magazines. I would not be here if it weren't for Shonen Jump. So he's really
that's awesome.
It's like you were speaking to me that whole time. So I'm definitely gonna pick up Big Hype. The advice I would give, and I think I tweeted this out yesterday. It's like it's definitely great to do as much as you can, but it's also do you watch football, Blake?
Mm-hmm. Yes,
so
sir.
Brett Favre, he had a quote, and he was like, I think he didn't miss a game for like 10 seasons. He's like, he would play hurt, and he said like, it's not just enough that I can play, I have to play well to keep his streak going. So it's like you can do everything yourself, but you have to do it well. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with asking for help, period.
Which is weird, because so many people have so much, like it's like people would rather get hit by a fucking car than ask for help sometimes. And my father's one of these people, and it feels like an older generation thing. Like I think that's kind of dying out, but I still see people my age and younger that it's just like, it's like offensive to ask for help, or like you're a failure if you ask for help. And like, I don't see that at all, man. I like, if you need help and you want to, like, think about mental health, man. Like if you're struggling, like the strength that takes to ask for help and to ask for someone to help make you better, like that takes immense strength. And you have to have faith in yourself and the world around you to do that. And I feel like just generally asking for help is like, it's a sign of strength. It's not a sign of weakness.
And that is what running a Kickstarter, that is what you're essentially doing. Like it could be a lot of times it's a great product, but it is like a lot of times it's an upsell. You are asking for people to, take a risk a lot of ways. Even, I have my book done. Doug has his book done already. I would imagine a lot of anthologies are already done. But there's still a risk, like your margins can be messed up. Your foreign, I've seen people that will put $25 to ship anywhere in the world just flat. I'm like, that's going to eat. So if somebody orders a comic book in Antarctica,
yeah,
what's going to happen then, so I freely offer help and I freely ask for help as well.
And again, like I mentioned earlier, I think it's very cool of you to participate in all these spaces, these chats, to talk about your experience and say, hey, this is what I'm doing. You don't have to do it like me, but also I'm finding success and I'm growing an audience, and like, you're not cocky. You're very humble about it. You're not like cocky about it. You're not like, dude, listen to me or be a fucking asshole, right? Like, you're not like that at all. You're very approachable. You're very easy to talk to. And I just think you have like a good outlook on the indie community. And I think the world needs more of you, man. And I just want you to know that like Blake's Buzz appreciates you and appreciates the attitude you're putting out into the indie comic scene. Like, I see it, I notice it, and other people are starting to notice it too. Sean, now as someone, maybe not necessarily with Kickstarters, but as a new creative who's struggling with family life, work life, and deadlines, like what's something you wish someone told you when you first started?
This is something that I had to find out when I was in art school before I started doing comics. But stay true to yourself. Don't do things to make other people happy. People will pick up on the things that you're doing and the energy that you're putting into your projects if you're truly happy with it yourself. Especially starting off, you're not going to be like, unless, you're God's creation of comics and whatnot, you're not going to be an overnight success. So put out projects that you're happy with, that you're proud of, and that you'd want to see in the world, and people will be attracted to that and come to you. That's something that I had to find out the hard way while I was at art school, and definitely something I wish I had learned sooner. So that, I would tell myself that. Was
it easier to learn that once because like art school and art programs, whether for like traditional artists or writing or all the kinds of degrees you can get in the creative field, right? Was it harder to learn that while you're surrounded by so many other people and you're seeing other people gain success when at the time you might not be? Like when I was in grad school, like people were getting published, people were making a little bit of money, and I'm getting, the rejection letters are piling up, and there's that kind of hopeless feeling, right? And you're like, I'm never going to make it happen. But then when you get away from that, even though like you learn so much, but when you get away from that competitiveness and you learn that it's not necessarily a competitive endeavor, but it's like a big creative family, does that help a little bit too, you think?
Oh yeah, 100%. Like, one thing that I loved about going to art school is I went to SCAD. I did a major in sequential art, so it was all comics people. So like from day one, I was always surrounded by a community of comics creators, and it was awesome to have that community, everybody wanting to kind of make each other succeed and whatnot. One of my best friends has a book coming out from Scout coming up. So I love to see my friends doing well, succeeding. And we're all doing things at our own pace, and there's no harm in taking a little bit longer than somebody else might.
Nice. That is good advice that I'm still learning. I still like, and even like when I compare like Blake's Buzz to like other blogs and stuff, and people that get exclusives and stuff, and my friends have to remind me, they're like, dude, you haven't even been doing this a year yet. And it's like, well, I've been doing the Blake's Buzz a year, but I haven't been podcasting a year. But I just forget that, man, because you get wrapped up in it, and it feels like it's been forever. I love it. It's fun, but like, I'm very bad at that. I'm very bad at like looking at other people's successes, and instead of I'm happy for them, like part of me is happy for them, but also part of me is like, when's it going to happen for me? And I get nervous about that and stressful about it. And then you get a bad taste in your mouth. Right. And then then the spiraling starts, and then it gets weird. And then, and then you're writing like 5 fucking drafts of a tweet and deleting it because you're worried about getting canceled. No, I'm just, but like it gets weird, and it's very important, and it's easier said than done. But once you get there, once you realize that like it's not a competition and we are more of a family, even some of us that don't like each other that much, like everybody kind of wants to help, and we're all here to help each other. And it's not necessarily like a competition and who's getting more followers faster, and who's getting the exclusives, and who's getting DC and Marvel writers, and who's only talking to any, like once you get over that bullshit, like it's very comforting. And I'm still learning that, but I'm getting closer every day. And not one day goes by, even when I get grumpy, like I fucking love this. I paid so much money for grad school, guys. and dropped out like a fucking moron and right at the end because life shit happened. But they would bring in writers and do like guest lectures, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever. And now I do that twice a week. Now I get to talk to talented writers and artists 2-3 times a week, and sometimes just bullshit with them and have fun, and also talk shop and talk storytelling, and I'm so grateful for it. And so like even on the days when I'm tired and I'm stressed and like I overbook myself and I got the day job, like I still like getting to talk to you guys and hearing how you tell stories and how you create, like it makes me like feel warm inside. And so like I appreciate you all, and I appreciate you coming on my show, and I don't want to be like sad and mushy and bullshit. And so let's switch it up. Mario.
More mush.
More mush.
More mush. All right.
Mario, what's something you wish someone told you like at the start of things to maybe like propel you in a different direction or just prepare you for the oddities you'll come across?
Yeah, I mean, I guess my original thought was echoing what you said about other people getting opportunities that you're not, and worrying about not keeping up with other people who are perhaps having more success. But I think just keep having fun. Keep having fun is probably something I wish I had learned earlier. I'm gonna be honest, I stopped caring about a year ago about trying to get opportunities, and since then I found I've been getting somehow more opportunities. I mean, people are reaching out. That's not a flex or anything. That's just a weird truth of like, I stopped caring. I'm slow to respond to emails that I would have jumped on like right away. But you just keep having fun. Like for Purple Eyes, this is probably like my 40th anthology, I'd have to guess. But this is Roberto's first anthology. It's his first big anthology, and I want to make this as meaningful for him as my first anthology was for me. So I'm approaching it from that perspective instead of being a jaded creator who's like, oh, I've been here, done this. Say, okay, let's have fun with this. Let's make it our best and give it a memorable experience for him. And I hope that he would pass that lesson down and keep having fun when he's, like an old man Logan doing this, years down the line.
Nice. So just you heard it from Mario, guys. Don't give a shit.
Don't give a shit.
When you don't give a shit, the good things start happening. You know what? I appreciate everything you said, but it reminds me of like those, like when married couples talk to like me, the perma single guy, and they're like, oh, when you're not looking for it, it'll come. It's like, you know what I do every day? I read comic books and write reviews and do podcasts. Like, I'm not out there like writing Hallmark cards and poetry and trying to like seduce women at bars. Like, I'm not looking for it. You're full of shit. But no, you're not full of shit. They are. But I agree. I like that equation of like we all want to have expectations and we all want to chase dreams, right? But it's like it's important to also know that like things aren't going to happen the way we think they will.
Yeah.
Right. That's just how fucking life is. Life is weird and it's kind of a dick sometimes. Right. And as much as it gives us, it'll take away. And so I think it's good to remember that like, yes, have dreams. Yes, have aspirations, but don't lock yourself to that heavy boulder when it falls into, I guess like, I don't, this sounds bad too, because I was about to say like, don't be scared to let go, but like, don't let go of your dream, but like, don't be scared to like, let it drift away a little bit and maybe come back to you. And now that's another fucking bullshit romantic platitude of like, if you let it go and it comes back. Right. But that's kind of the deal, so not caring is actually like, thank you for making me realize that that's actually good advice. And now I should probably like call my cousin and be like, sorry, I told you were full of shit when you told me that the other day.
Well, you ever see people who take care of their lawn or their green or whatever, and they overdo it sometimes, and they wonder like, okay, now my lawn won't survive if I don't do these specific chemicals, right? It's something like that. Where if you put too much care into it, sometimes like what you want slips away. But if you just let things naturally happen and just enjoy it for what it is in the moment, sometimes you'll find that things can eventually head the way that you want them to.
How long did it take you to get there? Like, I mean, because I feel like that's like it's hard to be so not careless is a bad word. I'm not trying to offend you, honestly, but like, it's hard, right? It's hard to be simultaneously passionate and like simultaneously kind of like blasé about it, right? Like you got to find like this strong middle ground. And so like,
yeah, I mean, Doug's known me for a little while. I think everyone here, he's known me the longest. I think he remembers me at the cusp of me still caring a lot and getting really not manic per se, but the highs and the lows are definitely present at all times. Of something bad or set me back, I'd be devastated for weeks, and I would let everyone in my group chats know. But if something great was happening, I would be shouting from the mountaintops. I think it probably took me like 6 years to get to that point last year where I just said whatever.
Okay. Set your calendars, folks. 6 years from today, it's going to get a little lighter, a little brighter.
Yeah.
No, I make jokes, but a lot of what you say, like it hits and it resonates. I appreciate hearing that. Michael, what about you, man? Like you have this saga that you've dumped your heart and soul into for over, right at 10 years now. You've had some, you've had some cool stuff under your belt. There's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in your work. It's very emotional, and your saga of the creators, like we mentioned earlier, like it's maybe based on Harold on the Purple Crown, but there's a lot of commentary in there about like the burden of creation and how it weighs heavily on the creator, right? And so, like, what's something that you wish someone told you when you were starting out that you wish you would have known right off the bat?
I'll share my favorite piece of advice, and it's something I feel like maybe I figured out, but it was way late in the game, and I wish I knew it earlier. And it applies to Kickstarter. It applies to just making comics in general. With all the cons I do, I have a lot of people come up to me and come up to the table, and one of the questions is, "Oh, you're making comics," and I everybody who makes comics and does conventions has this. People come up with like, "Oh my God, you're making comics." I've always wanted to make comics. I have this huge story idea. I've been working on it my whole life. I really want to turn it into something. And the quick and dirty version of the advice is, well, if you want to make comics, make friggin' comics.
Mm-hmm.
But the drawn out version of that, which I think is the thing that like really sets people off, is look, if you want to know if this is the business for you or if this is the passion for you, and you have this humongous story that spans like 43 characters and 6 worlds, and everybody always comes up with like, I've been working on this my whole life, I've been thinking about it, I have composition books filled, it looks like the set of 7 in my bedroom. and my advice is always, look, pick one character, tell a 20-page story, and just make a comic. And then like at the end of 20 pages, hopefully you if you have $300 to spend, go get like 50 or 60 copies of it made. And then sign up for a local convention and try to sell these things, or make a Kickstarter and try to raise $300 with some of the images from this book. And then if you do that, if you put your like heart and soul into a small chunk of this, and you do a convention and you still want to make more, or if you run a Kickstarter and you're like, hot damn, I want to make more of this book, then you chose the right thing. And if you hate it, then feel good that you accomplished something and walk away.
That's fucking real deal shit, dude. Cause it's like, to try and fail or to try and succeed, like you can't do either unless you try.
Right.
And so many people get hung up on that. Like, can I do it? Will I do it? I can't do this. I can't do this by myself. And it's just like, dude, sometimes you just got to fucking try. Sometimes you just got to ask the girl to dance, right? Like you just got to step up and put yourself out there, but it's hard. It's hard to put yourself out there sometimes, but once you get over that, like it's always easier to like get this advice than to like really implement it. But like, when people are like, hey, the worst they're going to do is tell you no, right. Like all the shit that's happened to you in your life, all the drama, the loss, the weirdness, like all this shit, like someone telling you no is going to break you. It's not going to break you.
It's not going
Like-
to break you. Every failure is like all failure is the step you take to learning how to do it right.
Mhm.
And I mean that's kind of a cliche, but like I mean with the creators, I'm about to do a reprint of the first volume and I'm going through it. I'm looking at the choices I made and I'm like, oh man, I wish I could redo that. And I'm and I'm looking at it compared to where I am now and I'm having all these like little judgments about it. I still like the book, but it's like, oh my God, I've come so far after 700 pages. And I think that like whether making making a small project that's part of something bigger allows you to be critical of yourself and have something that you can look at and say, how can I do this better? Or I don't want to make comics. Maybe I should write a screenplay or write a novel. And because I loved the writing process and I hated working with artists. I've heard a lot of writers say that. If any writer sneaks a weird, awkward smile right now on the panel right now, I won't say anything. And I think that like people, I think there's so much creative energy in the world, along with the fact that there's a lot of people who are just not made to create. Like a lot of people are just consumers and want to take in stories and reflect on them and respond to them. But there's so many unfulfilled creative dreams in the world. And I think that it really comes down to how do I simplify this so I can actually start something? Because once you start something, your chances of finishing it are a whole lot better than if you never started it at all.
Mm. Man, fucking dropping the hammer, dude. Like, I got this. Like, kudos to me for like asking this really awesome question, but like all of your answers were so good. Like, no, like for real, like all of your answers were wonderful, except Doug's because we haven't gotten Doug's yet. Doug, last but never least, everybody's best friend, Kickstarter warrior, Doug Wood. What do you wish you knew, like in the beginning that you know now?
I guess I would be repeating a lot of what everybody's already said. I just remember when I first started, I did fail for so long. I started probably trying to write and learn back in 2010, and I tried to do it alone, and doing it alone just put me in the hole, and I kept making mistakes, and I just didn't have anybody to lean on. And finally, when I finally decided to take this seriously back 2 years ago, three years ago now, when I finally just found a community that made comics, and learning from them and kind of throwing my ego away and figuring it out, that was the biggest step for me. And I encourage anybody, the greats, everybody says, oh, Alan Moore's the great, Grant Morrison's a great, and those people started by doing short stories. And if you have stories you want to tell, if you have that kind of drive, I just recommend find a community that can make short stories with you, that will push you to keep going, kind of be an accountability to you to make your experience happen. Because if you don't, you're floundering in your own space is going to make it a lot harder for you to learn and overcome that obstacle that you can't figure out on your own.
I feel that, man, and I think we've all touched on that a little bit tonight in the various questions and the various things we talked about. And I think that's one of the biggest and most beautiful. I think that's where the magic basically of comic books comes from. Because even if you're like an alien from outer space like Michael, and you can just draw and letter and write so well, and like but there's still I'm sure Michael has people that like early readers, right, that he shares his stuff with, and like he's like, hey, I need feedback for this. I would hope anyway. I like, if not, I don't know. He's just too good. Maybe he's like him and Jeff Lemire are gonna have a battle to the death over the
And he will kick my ass hard.
But I like how there's this like more and more we come back to the community, right? It's all of us coming together with readers, with reviewers, with people that are passionate about it, with, podcasters, and other creators. And, the magic that happens when we cross paths and we get to know each other, and you let those walls down, and let other people like experience your work in a different way, and you experience their work in a different way, and it becomes this like the beauty of creation, and where you get to see stories told in different ways, and grow from that and learn from that. And that's the beauty of good comics and good community. And I think you are all parts of that. I think you're all in the community. You're willing to help, you're willing to always learn, and you're willing to adapt your strengths as you interact with more and more people. And I think that's why all of you are going to continue to tell great stories. You're already telling great stories. You're already doing fucking killer work, all of you. But I think that, the more and more you exist in this creative world, and that burning desire in you that is to tell and make great comics and tell great stories, I'm excited for it. I'll back your Kickstarters. I'll be there to if you guys ever want to do an interview, or you ever need a press release or something, like, I'm always there for you. But I just appreciate all you guys and your excitement for comic books, and your excitement for creators, and to be a part of this world, and to not take it for granted. And I think all you gentlemen have that going for you. There's a humbleness and a thirst for life that I feel like is present in all your narratives. And I congratulate you to all your future endeavors. Again, I'm getting cheesy. I know this is weird. Like, usually I'm funny and say fuck a lot, but you guys are bringing the feels out of me. But so I've kept you guys for 2 hours. I know it's been a while. We're going to go around one more time. I want you guys to tell everybody where to find you, where to stalk you, where to keep track of you, and of all your future releases. And then I will let you go back to your lives, and I will unchain you from the Blake's Buzz prison. I promise. You've been here long enough. Anthony, let's start with you, bud. Where we find you at, where we follow you at?
I'm on Twitter at Stokes the Writer. I'm on Instagram on Instagram.com/Decay Comic.
And right now, Decay issue 1 and 2 is live on Kickstarter. You can back it. You can buy it. Everybody should. It's very good. It's very raw. It's yeah, man, it's cool. I dig your exploration into the undead, into magic, and into into gun culture, which is a sad normative part of our American existence, which, like, we do need to talk about it, because everybody's fucking got guns, and people are fucking careless, and people are heartless, and bad things happen every day, man. And I'm glad that you took that. I like that you took a different spin on violence, and you don't celebrate it, but you also manipulate it into telling a really cool story. So, like, that's awesome, man. And I wish you the best. And I hope all 5 issues. I can't wait till you get it out there. And I hope it does well enough that you can put out a Kickstarter trade too. And maybe someone, like Doug or Sean, the publishers they work with. I hope someone picks it up, because it needs to get more people need to read it. It's a good story, and I appreciate you coming on the show. Doug, where do we find you at, bud?
I'm on Twitter, Doug A Wood 1. I also no, I'm nowhere else. That's where I'm at.
Hey man, too much social media can rot the brain. No, same thing. Doug has a comic with Source Point Press. The 2nd issue comes out in June. You can get the 1st issue now. You can buy it from Source Point's website. 2 more months.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, 2 more weeks is when my
2 more weeks. Okay. Wait, issue 1 hasn't come out yet?
No, May 25th.
Oh shit, it's only May 11th. Wow. Time is a flat circle, man. All right. Well, good. That means you can call your shop and tell them that you want Ultramax and you want to pre-order it. And just because the cutoff may happen doesn't always mean that they can't get it. You can also go to SourcePoint's website and snag it if your shop has trouble getting it. I promise you, it's worth getting. It's indie. It's Cape heavy. It's fucking full of drama behind bars in a prison with superpowers, and it's neat. It's cool, and I dig the art. He's got a good artist and a great story. Michael is his third Kickstarter for the creators is live right now. You can get the other 2 volumes with it. You can get them sketched. You can get them digitally. It's you said 700 pages. That's a lot of comic, man. So you can get a shit ton of really great comics with crazy art. It's so hard to explain, but you have to see it. It's just really, it's very I say raw too much, but it looks like it comes out of your gut, and not in like a vomiting thing, but just like
more
raw
of a poop way, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it.
No, it's really it's so cool, and his monsters and creations and the things that metastasize out of the drawings of these mutated teenagers. It's a sight to behold, and it's hard to describe, and you just need to see these pages for yourself. And the story's real fucking good too. Bud, where can we find you at? Where's a good place to keep track of you?
So I'm pretty easy. My my business name for the past 15 years is Spaghetti Kiss, like Lady and the Tramp, but not. So at Spaghetti Kiss on Instagram, Spaghetti Kiss on Facebook, Twitter. But for the Kickstarter, it is thecreatorscomic.com. So Spaghetti Kiss and thecreatorscomic.com. I'm easy.
And thank you for the promiscuous time traveler who always manages to navigate the spectrum and make his way to these live shows. I didn't know it was going to get so deep tonight either, man, but sometimes we got to get real. And I feel like tonight was a good night to get real. And thank you for hanging out with us as always. We appreciate you.
Can I just, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but that's an awesome handle. The promiscuous.
He's so good, right? I'm so
really
I'm like,
good. Like, how many of my relatives is that person?
Every time he pops in, I'm like, God, Blake's Buzz is such a bullshit. Like, why didn't I think of promiscuous time traveler? Like,
seriously,
just fertilizing the world one time stream at a time. Just
I'm your mom, your dad, your grandson.
Yeah. I'm everything. I'm everything that made you. I'm your gene pool.
I'm
you sorry
you.
sack of shit.
I am you.
See now after he mentions like, man, you guys were so deep and thoughtful tonight, and then the spooge jokes come out. That's you got to call us out and remind us sometimes to not get too real. And then we'll loosen it up a little bit and talk about populating various members of your family. Anyway, on that note, Mario,
hey, let's go.
Where do we find you at, bud? Where's a good place to keep track of you?
Yeah, my Twitter is the other Mario C, and my Instagram, which is just a lesser version of my Twitter, is another Mario C. You can find my works. Last release I had was from Mad Cave, which was Grim Tales from the Cave, which is in stores now. And I have Kilchella coming out from Scout later this year. I think in the fall, maybe. Yeah, definitely in the fall. And right now, working on Purple Eyes.
Very cool. I'm excited. Any Scout stuff gets me excited. I have interviewed so many Scout creators. I keep hoping one day they'll give me a job, but it's probably not going to happen. But I do so much work with Scout people. I don't know if you guys are just real thirsty and like I have the tap of water that tastes the best. Like I don't know what, but I just like if people have a Scout book and they're like, fuck yeah, I'll come on your show. And then like other people I have to like beg and like draw them pictures. Like I wrote you this sonnet. Will you please come on my show on Wednesday? And then they're like, no, you're weird. I don't want to read your poetry. Anyways, love Scout here. We love Scout so much. And I'm excited to see your future stuff with them because they are just wonderful content producers, man. They got tons of cool stuff. So I feel like that's a good home to be. Speaking of good homes to be, Dauntless Stories is another one. We got Sean Dicker, who is working on the Kickstarter for Purple Eyes, and he's also dropping the heat digitally on Dauntless, and that'll come out later. If you're a trade guy, if you want the physical, you'll be able to get that. You can even pre-order it right now and the digital. They have a really cool situation going on there. Sean, where do we keep track of you? Where do we find you? Where do we commission you? Tell us, what's your social security number? The last 4 digits of your credit card?
Well, I won't give you that, but you can find me on Twitter at Dicker Tweets. That's where I'm primarily located at social media wise. And then on Instagram at Sean_Dicker_art. Those are the 2 places to find me. Again, check out Dauntless, check out Uncovered Grave. Books coming out bi-weekly, a lot of fun, and back Purple Eyes. We've got some great stories to tell.
Fully agree. All you guys, back these guys' projects, find them on the socials, follow them. These guys got great stories in their bellies that they're just waiting to belch out into your existence in the most wonderful way possible. All of you, I so appreciate you coming on my show, and I wish you all the best of luck. Any of your future projects, if Blake's Buzz can ever do anything for you, I will help you to the best of my ability. I don't know if I actually help at all or if I just talk a lot and people listen, but either way, like I'm proud to get to talk to all you guys. The talent in this forum tonight is immense, and I really hope that you guys bullshit with me for a couple hours. I hope you get some eyes on your campaigns and your projects, because they all deserve them. Everybody, thank you. Our live listeners, thank you. Blake's Buzz is back. I had to take a couple breaks. We're not missing Wednesdays anymore, folks. We are back to do it. We're back to talk to you about indie comics, about good things to read, about fun times to be had. Get lit and talk nerd shit. We'll be back next Wednesday. I got a super fucking dope show for next week. I'm so stoked to talk about it. All you guys, thank you. You're awesome. Your comics are awesome. And Indie Comics is so fucking lucky to have you. And again, thank you so much for coming on my show. I so appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Anytime, guys.
Have a good night.
It's Blake's Buzz Live.